You know, I spent 14 years on the tour, won some titles, had my moments. People remember the trophies, the Wimbledon runs, the serve. But at 54, what I think about most are the guys who made me work for every single one of those wins. When you're young and competing, you don't have time to appreciate your rivals. You're focused on the next match, the next tournament. Everything's about winning. But now, with some distance, I can look back and really understand who pushed me hardest. Not necessarily the greatest players of all time, but the ones who were toughest for me personally. I let my racket do the talking back then. Now I can actually talk about the 5 opponents who challenged me in ways that made me a better player. Each one tested something different. Some took away my strengths, some exposed my weaknesses. One made me cry on court, and one made me question everything about my game. These are my 5 toughest rivals. At number 5, I'm going with Jim Courier. We grew up together in the Florida academies, played juniors together, good friends off the court. But when we stepped on that court, Jim made me more uncomfortable than almost anyone. Jim was a grinder. He played from the baseline with this heavy, relentless style that was completely opposite to mine. I wanted to serve big, get to the net, finish points quickly. Jim wanted to drag me into long rallies, make me earn every single point from the back of the court. He made me play a type of tennis I didn't particularly enjoy. The head-to-head numbers don't tell the real story. Sure, I won most of our matches, but Jim had this ability to push me physically in ways that exposed my limitations. I had thalassemia, this blood condition that made me tire easily in hot weather. Jim knew how to exploit that. He'd just keep the ball in play, make me work, wait for me to fade. We met in some big matches. Wimbledon '93, I beat him in the final. But the match that really defines what Jim meant to me happened in Melbourne, January 1995, Australian Open quarterfinals. The week before that match, my coach Tim Gullickson had collapsed during practice. Tim wasn't just my coach, he was my best friend, my mentor. They sent him back to the States, ran tests, brain tumor. I found out in the hospital, saw his brother crying. I tried to keep it together, focus on tennis. That's what I always did. Compartmentalize, don't show emotion. I went into that match against Jim carrying all of that. And I played terribly at first. Jim came out strong, took the first 2 sets. I was exhausted, emotionally drained. The Melbourne heat was killing me. I remember sitting there during the changeover thinking about Tim, thinking maybe I just didn't have anything left. Then someone in the crowd yelled, "Do it for your coach!" And something broke inside me. I started crying right there on court in front of 15,000 people. Tears running down my face, trying to serve. It was the most exposed I'd ever been in my life. Jim saw what was happening. We've been friends since we were kids. During the changeover, before the 5th set, he looked at me and said, "Are you all right, Pete? We can do this tomorrow," you know? I'll never forget that. In the middle of a Grand Slam quarterfinal, my opponent offering to postpone because he could see I was struggling. That's who Jim was. But I said no, I needed to play. For Tim, for myself, somehow I found something. Won the 3rd set, then the 4th. The 5th set went past midnight. We both showed a lot of heart that night. When it was over, I was just flat out tired. Physically, mentally, everything. I lost to Andre in the final, but that match against Jim changed something in me. People always said I was robotic, no emotion. After Melbourne, they couldn't say that anymore. Jim pulled that out of me. Not intentionally, but he did. That's why he's on this list. He didn't just test my tennis. He tested everything else. Number 4 is Boris Becker. Boris was the guy who owned Wimbledon before I did. When I was coming up, he was the standard. 3 titles, that diving volley, the intimidation factor. Center court was his kingdom. What made Boris tough was that we played the same game. Both of us served big, both attacked the net, both relied on power and aggression. When you face someone with a completely different style, you can adjust your tactics. But when you're playing a mirror image of yourself, it becomes purely about who executes better in the moment. who's mentally stronger on that particular day? Boris used to say, when you have two guys who serve extremely big and volley pretty well, you're not going to have long rallies. He was right. Our matches were serve, maybe one or two shots, point over. Everything came down to a handful of key points. Tie breaks, break point chances that happened maybe once or twice a set. The margin was razor thin. On indoor carpet, Boris was incredibly dangerous. Fast surface, low bounce, the ball came off his serve like a rocket. He actually had the edge on me indoors. But on grass, at Wimbledon, I managed to figure him out. Beating Boris at Wimbledon wasn't just about winning a match, it was about taking over. After I beat him in the '95 final, he said something I'll never forget. I can't say this is my place anymore. I used to own it, but Pete Sampras had taken over the keys. Hearing that from Boris Becker, a guy I'd looked up to, a three-time champion, that meant everything. It was validation that I belonged at the top, that I wasn't just good, I was the guy now. But it was also pressure. Once you take the keys, you have to defend them. Every young player coming up is trying to take them from you. Boris had felt that pressure. Now it was mine. The battles with Boris taught me about legacy, about what it means to be the best at something. Wimbledon became my place the same way it had been his. I won 7 titles there, same as the tournament's history expected from its champions. But I never forgot that Boris was the one I had to go through to get there. He made me earn it, every time. Number 3 is Pat Rafter. Pat played like I did. Serve, charge the net, volley, next point. We had the same approach to tennis, and that made our matches beautiful in a way that not many people appreciated. When you have 2 serve and volley players facing each other, there's no baseline grinding, no long rallies, it's just pure attacking tennis. Serve, return, both guys sprinting forward, meeting at the net, quick hands, reflex volleys, angles, it's chess at high speed. Pat was a gentleman, always. Win or lose, he carried himself with this quiet dignity that I really respected. No tantrums, no drama, just class. That might sound boring to some people, but for me, it was refreshing. We could compete fiercely and still respect each other completely. The 2-1000 Wimbledon final was probably our best match. Both of us attacking, both of us serving well, both of us comfortable at the net. It was tense, tight, but also kind of perfect. The kind of tennis that only happens when 2 players trust their games completely and just go for it. Here's something interesting. Andre once said he preferred playing Pat over playing me. He said Pat allowed him to get into a rhythm, let him find his game. But against me, Andre felt like he never got comfortable. I didn't give him that rhythm. I think about that sometimes. Pat played beautiful tennis, won 2 US Opens, made Wimbledon finals, great player. But there was something about the way I played, the way I didn't let opponents settle in, that made me harder to deal with. Even when we had similar styles, there was something different about my approach. Pat said after we retired that I was the toughest player he'd faced. He did everything I did, he said, just that I did it better. I don't know about that. I think I was just a little more stubborn about not giving an inch. What Pat taught me was that you don't need hatred to have a great rivalry. You don't need controversy or bad blood. Sometimes the purest competition comes from mutual respect and 2 guys just trying to outplay each other. That's what we had, and it made me better. Number 2 is Goran Ivanisevic. Goran was unpredictable. You never knew which version of him would show up. Brilliant Goran or self-destructing Goran. That uncertainty made him dangerous in a way that's hard to explain. He was left-handed, which meant different angles, different spins, everything coming at you from the opposite side you were used to. His serve was massive. On his day, when everything was clicking, Goran was nearly unbeatable. The problem for him was that those days didn't come consistently. The problem for me was that I never knew when one of those days would arrive. The 1994 Wimbledon final is probably the match people remember most from our rivalry. It was hot, the court was fast, and both of us were just bombing serves. He hit 25 aces. I hit 17. We barely had rallies. The match became about two things, serving and tie breaks. I won the first two sets in tie breaks. Goran was frustrated, emotional. In the third set, he just collapsed. I won it 6-love. The whole thing looked one-sided by the end, but those first two sets could have gone either way. After that match, the media criticized the style of play. They said it was boring, that there were no rallies, that tennis was becoming too serve-dominated. I defended it. I said, this is grass court tennis. This is what Wimbledon is supposed to be. Fast courts, big serves, quick points. If you want long rallies, watch clay court matches. Wimbledon actually changed their balls after that, tried to slow the game down a bit. I understood why, but part of me thought it was a shame. That style of tennis, that serve and volley era, it was special. Not everyone appreciated it, but it was pure. Goran and I met again in the 98 Wimbledon final. 5 sets that time. Could have gone either way. But I managed to get through. In deciding sets against Goran, I usually found a way. I think it came down to consistency. Goran had higher peaks than me, maybe, but I had fewer valleys. Years later, after I'd retired, Goran won Wimbledon in 2001 as a wild card, and I was genuinely happy for him. He'd been so close so many times, lost 3 finals. To finally get it at his age as a wild card, that was a beautiful story. Goran taught me that talent alone isn't enough. You need steadiness. You need to be able to deliver when it matters, even when you're not feeling perfect. Consistency beats brilliance over time. Number 1, Andre Agassi. We had contrasting styles, and he had that extra gear. If you made a mistake against Andre, you knew, it was game over. He'd punish you immediately. That level of pressure, match after match, year after year, it forced me to evolve in ways no one else did. People look at the head-to-head and think I dominated because I won more, but that's not how it felt. Every single time I stepped on court with Andre, I knew I had to bring my absolute best. There was no coasting, no easy wins. He made me earn everything. The return game, that's what killed me. My serve was my biggest weapon, right? Against most players, I could rely on it to control matches, to get out of trouble. Against Andre, it almost became a problem. He read my serve better than anyone I ever faced. He'd stand way back, see the ball early, and crack these returns right at my feet when I was charging the net. I had to change everything. Started hitting my second serve almost as hard as my first because I couldn't give him anything soft to attack. There was no rhythm against Andre, no patterns, no safe spots on the court. He took all of that away. I remember being 19 US Open final, beating him to win my first major. That's the match that told me I belonged. Then 5 years later, we're back in the US Open final, and we played this incredible match. There was this one rally, we're going back and forth, must have been 20 shots, and I finally end it with a backhand down the line. Andre said later that loss knocked him down for years. I didn't know that then. I just knew we were both at our best. The strangest match we ever played was the 2001 US Open quarterfinals. Neither of us broke serve the whole match. Everything went to tie breaks, 4 sets, 4 tie breaks. It was bizarre. We were both serving so well, returning so well, that breaking became impossible. That's what perfect tennis looks like, I guess. When both guys are playing that well, you just hold serve and hope to win the tie breaks. My last match was against him, 2002 US Open final. I hadn't won anything in over 2 years. People wrote me off, but I got through, and there's Andre in the final. Same as it started 12 years before. I served well that day, got the win, ended with a backhand volley. Didn't know it would be my last point ever, but to finish against Andre like that, you can't write it better. Off the court, we were completely different. I was the quiet kid. Andre was loud, rebellious, wanted to be different. The craftsman versus the showman. But after we both retired, I made sure to reach out, stay in touch. Now we laugh about raising kids. finally having something in common besides beating each other up on tennis courts. Andre tested everything, not just my serve or my volleys, everything. My ability to adapt, to stay mentally strong, to keep evolving. He's number one because he made me become the player I needed to be. He was probably the best player I ever faced. These 5 guys, they each taught me something I needed to learn. Jim showed me that heart matters as much as talent. Boris showed me how to handle pressure and legacy. Pat showed me that class and competition aren't opposites. Goran showed me the value of staying steady when everything around you is chaos. And Andre, he taught me that you can't stay the same. You have to evolve or get left behind. I never wanted to be the colorful guy or the interesting guy. I just wanted to win titles. But you can't win alone. You need opponents who push you, who force you to be better than you think you can be. My quiet way took me to places I'd never dreamed of reaching. But those 5 made that journey possible. They cost me some titles, sure, but they also helped me win things I probably wouldn't have won without them. I'm grateful they made it so hard.